Good morning, everybody. Kit Cummings. Thanks for dropping back into our 40-day series, which is 40 sermons in 40 days. March 23rd, we kicked off. Today is day 38. And so there's been such a great group of people stopping by. Today, I want to look at a word that the part of our being that's mentioned the most times in the Bible, over 1,000 times. Okay, so this is a very important issue, and it's when God talks about the heart. Now, obviously, when we talk about the heart, we're not talking about the blood pumping organ, but it's the heart of the issue. It's the heart of a story. It's the inside, the seat. It's where everything comes from. And so when the Bible talks about the state of the heart, and so many times God talks about it, it must be vitally important. So when we talk about the heart biblically, what is it we're talking about? We're talking about this hidden, one thing, you can't see it. A lot of times you'll see the evidence of someone's heart by their behavior, but this is a hidden part of us that is the intellectual, emotional, and moral activity center. You know, it's the place where our emotions live, our desires live, our will lives, and even our intellect. You know, I mean, there were times when Jesus said he knew what they were thinking in their hearts. So the heart also has a part of the mind is in the heart. You know, we have this thing called a conscience, you know, which is just this internal sensor that protects us, but also it's got emotions attached to it. When we're starting to get into an area that we know better, we've got this conscience that lives in the deepest part of us that tries to guide us. But like anything, if we ignore the engine light long enough, the car is going to break down. We've got little sensors, and God's given us that. So I want you to think about your dreams. You know, where dreams come from is the heart. It's a heart wish. The things that you want to do, accomplish, be, where you want to go, what you want to achieve, what you want to discover, what you want to experience, all of that lives in the heart. So the dream is born in the heart, and then it goes to the mind, and then it's expressed and manifest. It's this place where the will lives. You know, that's where we talk about, man, does he have the heart to do this? We know he's got talent, but does he have the heart? That means, do you have the will? I mean, that's where your will is stationed. So we've got emotions, you know, that we feel: a happy heart, a sad heart, a scared heart, a worried heart, a full heart, a soft heart. You think about this thing that we call the heart. You know, when you fall in love, that's something that, you know, the heart knows what the heart wants, right? And so out of nowhere, all of a sudden, you can have this whole new feeling and perspective and view of somebody that's grabbed your heart. And so when you fall in love, something happens to this place where our dreams and desires and will and intellect and conscience, it all comes together and something changes in our heart. But then you've also heard say, you know, he has vengeance in his heart. Think about that. It's a powerful heart state. Somebody hurts you, and our nature is we want to hurt back. And that's where vengeance can get rooted in the heart. We think of bitterness. You know, the Bible warns us, be careful. Don't let a bitter root grow, because that can sicken the heart. And the heart that needs to be soft and easily moved and have a strong will, that when you want to do something, when you decide, man, I'm going to do this, I'm going to change this, I'm going to create this new habit, then the heart has got to get involved, because that's where your will is, your motor is, your drive is the why, it's the emotion behind what you say you want to do. So do you have a problem starting things and not following through? That's a heart issue. Okay, something's going on in the heart. We hear of someone getting a broken heart. Okay, we allow our heart to go somewhere, and we allow ourselves to want something really bad. You know, that's a very, very important space, but it's a little scary. You know, I see a lot of people, you know, the work that I do is to open your heart and let yourself dream again. Because where there's a dream, there's powerful emotion, and there's strong will, and there's a real deep intellect around a dream, a desire. And God says, if you delight yourself in me, I will grant you the desires of what? Of your heart. He didn't say your mind. These are ideas. These are plans, goals, strategies. The heart it's at the heart of the matter. It's the living, breathing feeling that you have about something that you want really bad. But I think in today's world, we see a lot of people that have guarded their hearts. We talk about, so-and-so's heart grew cold, and this strong, vibrant, hot heart that feels passion all of a sudden can start to grow cold, and to where it's harder to get motivated. Do you remember when you were maybe early on in this whole thing, this spiritual ride, you were easily moved? A sermon would move you, a movie would move you to tears, that whole goosebump phenomenon. What the heck is that? All of a sudden your body goes, with this warm, endorphin blast, and it just comes out of nowhere where the heart has responded to something. Man, we want a soft heart, but this world will beat us down. So when we get a broken heart, it's when we've allowed ourselves to really, really want something, and it doesn't arrive when we want it or how we want it or through whom we want it. And then a lot of times we're tempted to not want it so bad the next time. And so we set our dreams and goals at a reasonable level that's safe, so that if and when this doesn't happen for me, it won't hurt so bad. Those that have been hurt in relationships go into a relationship, and maybe it's a guarded heart, and it's very hard to open your heart again because you've been hurt before. You've had that broken heart. And I always encourage people, man, I would much rather have a broken heart, because I dream a big dream and want it with everything I am, and then something happens to defer that, or it goes away, or something happens, or somebody steals it, whatever it is. There's a lot of pain there, but I'd rather have a broken heart chasing my dreams than have a slow, gradual, lengthy, broken heart over years, which is just a hardening, a crusting, and then a cracking of the heart. You can get a broken heart, cracks in a hard heart. Man, that's a prolonged heart sickness. Man, I'd rather go for something and then get your hopes dashed. It's all right. You get your heart broke. Man, if you allow yourself to love, that's what life is all about. But I think that so many people, every time we go around the sun, life happens to us. And we start, we learn over time what's safe, what's acceptable, what's reasonable. I want to keep my dreams reasonable instead of outlandish dreams. Jesus talked about a childlike heart, that we must change and become like the children if we want to see the kingdom of God. He's saying, change your heart, because the eyes of your heart can see things that these eyeballs can't see. You think about a child's heart, they believe anything, so we got to be careful with them. They trust to a fault, so we got to be careful with who influences them. They want what they want real bad, and they'll pitch a fit if they don't get it. They're not worried about thinking about consequences and ramifications and plans and obstacles and business plans. They just know what they want, and they scream till they get it. They forgive easily. Their heart lets go of things. The heart was not born racist. We learn it. The heart was not born hating. We learn it. The heart was not born protecting itself. We learn that. And so maybe you're at a point where it's like you've been following Jesus for a long time, or maybe you're just trying to get started, and the heart is hard, and you're discouraged, and we're tempted to quit. Why? This ain't worth it. Man, what about when somebody says, man, that dude's all heart? What are they talking about? It's just like all in all the time, passionate, man, boom. Those kind of people get a broken heart, but man, life is live in color. It's not guarded. When your heart leaps, your heart jumps for joy, that's when this heart that God gives us is responding and saying, yes, give me that. I could go on and on and on like I do. But the Bible also says to guard your heart, because it's the wellspring of life. All right, so a guarded heart doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be if you want love again, but you're afraid to trust. If you really, really want that soft heart again, but you got to go into some pain in order to do it. So today's a checkup. the wellspring of life. All that we want in life, it lives in the heart. All that we need, we already possess. We reach outside for things to try to change the way we feel, whether it's chemicals or substances or alcohol or gambling or shopping or chocolate or screens, looking at things, whatever it is. It's like we're trying to change the feeling and the state of our heart with things outside. And this is as inside a job as you can get. Joy's an inside job. It lives in the heart. So I want you to think, as we get ready to go into this, is what state did your heart enter earth, this human experience? It was perfect. You came into the world with a perfect heart. Man, it's soft. It felt things, dreamt easy, forgave easily, was just impressionable in a good way, easily inspired, motivated, educated, the heart, the intellect, the will, the soul. I mean, the soul is a little different, but they're connected. Now, and think about that heart that goes around and around the sun and gets older and older. It's been broken. It's learned some things. It's guarded. We got to guard our heart from the things that are going to hurt it and make it sick. But man, don't guard it from loving because you're afraid to get hurt. So Jesus talked about this. And so today is a little checkup. And for those who've been around for a minute, you're going to know this because this is like Jesus' most famous parable. It's been preached, golly, maybe more times than any other parable. And if you're very biblically, familiar, you might just go, oh man, I know this one. And I want to ask you, look at your heart fresh today and just a state today. Doesn't matter what your heart used to be like or what it might be tomorrow. If we go to the doctor and we get hooked up and get the EEG or the KGG or whatever it's called, they're going to look at the electrical activity of the heart. Is it beating in a nice rhythm? Is it pumping blood easily? Are there blocks, hardening of arteries? I mean, these are the state of the heart. And then there's going to be a prescription. And you need to change your diet, exercise, lower stress. I mean, there's things you got to do. But when you walk out of that doctor's office, it's like, hey, this is on you. You get to decide whether you want to obey the doctor or not. It's your life. So today, we take a look at the heart. And this is the parable of the sower. Jesus began to teach by the lake. The crowd that gathered around him was so large that he got into a boat and sat in it out on the lake while all the people were along the shore at the water's edge. He taught them many things by parables, and in his teaching he said, listen. That's cool, isn't it? Okay, listen. A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he scattered the seeds, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among the thorns, which grew up and choked the plants, so that they did not bear grain. Still other seed fell on the good soil. It came up, grew, and produced a crop, multiplying 30, 60, even 100 times what was sown. The brothers come along and say, we don't get it. And Jesus gets a little bit irritated and said, are you so dull? You don't get this one? I mean, this is the most obvious parable. And he says, all right, I'm going to explain it to you. Parables are there so that those who want to see can see, but others can't see. And so he said, open your eyes and listen. And he explains it. And he says, don't you understand this? How are you going to understand anything? He says, the farmer sows the word. Some people are like seed along the path where the word is sown. As soon as they hear it, the enemy comes and takes the word away that was sown in them. Others, like seed sown on the rocky places, hear the word and at once receive it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. Still others, like seed sown among the thorns, hear the word, but the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desire for other things come in and choke the word, making it unfruitful. Others, like seed sown on the good soil, hear the word, accept it, and produce a crop 30, 60, even 100 times what was sown. So Jesus is out preaching. There's all kind of people. He gets in a boat. All the people come to the shore. It's a cool little amphitheater effect, and he begins to teach. I love that Jesus taught real people with real stories. Farmers, fishermen, tax collectors. He used parables to help us understand. He said there's a farmer. He goes out and he's throwing the seed. I want you to imagine a big field. It's got a path all the way around it, and he's just slinging the seed and just scattering it out. And there's shale rock that runs under some of those parts. And so it's only about this deep. And then there's this flat rock that you can't see. There's certain types of thorns that grow in that area. And you got to be careful. Keep the thorns weeded out. You've got the path, and then birds come and always pick up the seeds. And then he talks about how to grow a crop 30, 60, 100 times, which is what we want, right? Unless a seed falls to the ground and dies, it remains a seed. But if it dies, it can produce a crop, okay? And that's what we want with our lives, right? I don't want to live on this planet and get to the end of it and you didn't do what I asked you to do. I love you. Come be with me. But man, we could have done so much. One life to live. So he says, as he scatters, some of it falls on that path. Now, as the farmer walks around and around, he beats down that soil to where it's a hard path. Well, some of the seed is going to get scattered there, but Jesus says the problem is the birds come and they take it before it can get any root. It's too hard to penetrate. He says another, it penetrates the soil, but it doesn't get its root. It only goes down this much and then it spreads out, and it can't really survive the sun and the storms because it doesn't have root. It's too shallow. And then he talks about a thorny soil, where the thorns, you didn't weed it. And so as the plant began to grow, so did the thorns around it. And it looks good for a while, but then the thorn takes all the nutrients and the sun and the water. And then the plant withers and dies because it's choked. And then he talks about the good soil that receives the seed and the water and the sun and the nutrients, and it produces this amazing plant. And that is the life fully committed to him that is now used to do the things that the Father dreams of. Father's got a heart too. So the brothers are like, all right, I get it. It's a farming lesson. What do you want us to do with it? And we don't get it. They're dull. Just like we are a lot of times. We don't see the scriptures anew again because we've seen them so many times. And he says, listen, your heart's dull. Okay, he's teaching them about the heart, and then he says, are you so dull? You don't even get it. See, your heart's hard. So here's 4 states of the heart. 1, the world beats you down. The farmer trampled that path, and he beat it down so that the seed couldn't even penetrate. Man, some of you guys, and I've been there too, have allowed the world to make your heart grow cold, and now you've protected it because it's not going to be hurt again. You can still go to church, read your Bible, pray, have relationships, do all the things, but have a protected, hard heart because of pain. Doesn't have to be pagan, wild man that's got a hard heart. It can be a religious heart like the Pharisees that's grown hard. Man, is your heart hard? The first thing you got to do is just recognize and say, yes. Now, what do I got to do about it? There's the first step. But then he goes, hey, some of y'all are passionate and emotional. That's how he made me. It's like I'm easily inspired. You preach a sermon and man, I'm all in. Problem is I'll jump and make a decision, sometimes stupid decision, but it felt good at the time. And so I just go with my gut. And then I have to go back and say, well, that was stupid. My bad, bro. Because it's a passionate heart, but if it lacks depth, see, this is the one that jumps at things. Yes, I'm going to do. Yes, I'm going to join. Yes, I'm going to change. A new plan, a new goal, New Year's resolution. Always fired up about change. But then quitting and going to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and never really mastering any one thing because there's not the depth, the roots. Some that are listening, man, you got deep roots and that's how you've weathered the storms. You're still there, man. When the storm's raging, those roots keep you. It's your foundational structure, which keeps you strong. But man, you can get beat down too. So you can have deep roots, but the plant is beat all the heck. And then again, be careful of the hardening, But roots is what we need. We need roots to get down and hold us through the storm. Nobody can make you do that. That's the unseen work. That's the studying and the praying and the wrestling, getting in with brothers and sisters and saying, help me. I'm trying. My heart's hard. Let's talk about what's gotten it hard. Or, man, I need depth. It's going to take more than just the same old Bible studies, the same old prayers. This thing is showing us, I call it the pandemic heart. What has this pandemic revealed about your heart? And where does it need to be? Is it hard? Man, it's time to till that thing. Those big, what do you call those things? You break up contract. Anyway, we gotta we gotta drill down and bust up that hard thing. That means going into your pain and figuring out, man, what is it? Hearts don't get hard by themselves. There's something that's keeping my heart hard. But those that know they're shallow, okay, now it's a matter of, are you willing to do the work? You know, are you willing to put in the work? If you want a heart that is fertile and vibrant and easily moved, you got to put that work in, you know? Put the work into everything else. Whatever we do a lot, we get very good at. But then he talks about the thorny soil. The thorny soil, man, that one is, it's not hard. The word got in there. And it's not necessarily shallow. There are roots, but over time, the thorns, he says, the worries of this world, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desire for other things come in and choke the word and make it unfruitful. So this is where, man, a lot of us might be right now. The worries of this world, be careful. Guard your heart. If you focus on the wind and the waves and the storms and take your eye off of him, your heart gets afraid. And when the heart gets afraid, it starts reaching for other things. The thorns are the worries of this life. Man, if we pay so much attention to what the world says, man, we can start to buy into that and our heart gets afraid. And again, what do we do when we get afraid? A lot of times we harden. So it can be that, you know, these four states tend to always end up with that path to where the enemy comes and steals the word. You're not even inspirable anymore because it's hard. But I'd like you to think about the thorns. And this is one for me too. Man, I can be the rocky soil because I jump, you know, it's ready, fire, aim, you know, and then I can be the thorny soil because, you know, I'm built that way where I like changing the way I feel. And so that's affected my journey. And you can have all heart and all passion and not have to get tripped up by the worries of this world or the deceitfulness of wealth. You think about it, one little tiny microorganism that you can't even see has completely disrupted the world economy and people have lost millions. The big guys have lost billions. The little people, good Lord, we've lost our businesses, some of us, right? We're trying to recreate it. That's the worries, but it's also, we got to have wealth, you know, to support our families. But the deceitfulness is wealth is, man, if I just got paid, I'd be happy. And we've chased that. And now maybe we're sitting there with a hard heart or a shallow heart or a thorny worldly heart. And yet we're still trying to go through the motions. And that's exhausting. But then there's the fourth heart. And that's where Jesus said, but then again, some was on the path. I ain't talking about that. Some fell among the shallow and hit the rock. Not talking about that. Some got choked by the thorns and lost their heart. Talking about that. I'm talking about the soft heart that receives the word. A deep heart which holds on to it and it matures and gets down beneath the soil. Man, the plant that is fully exposed to life and doesn't have those thorns that were choking it. Because those things that we reach for to help our heart feel good, they don't last. You know, if it's an addiction or a bad habit or just being emotional with no depth, it doesn't last. It's a temporary fix, and what goes up must come down. The heart is an inside job. And I want the last one. Man, receptive, deep, fertile, no thorns. Keep it weeded, man. Keep the pests away and let this thing grow. I'll close with a beautiful young heart that I witnessed not too long ago. And we were doing our program at a high school in North Fulton. And the challenge was to our pop squad, we raise up young student leaders that have positive influence and are role models to change some of these threats. And the challenge for that day, all the kids get a Hope is the New Dope wristband in the pop club. Pop is Power Peace Project. And the challenge, every day they get a challenge. So this was the one that I gave. I said, go throughout the school and search for a student that looks all alone and prove to them that they are not. And so they all kind of did it at their own level. But one, just really popular wrestler, cool guy, he went at lunchtime and he looked for a different place to sit. And he saw a kid that was sitting all alone. And so he went over to him. He said, hey, bro, you mind if I sit down? And he gave him his wristband. Hey, man, here, take my wristband. Hope is the new dope. You know, that opened the door, broke the ice a little bit. And they began to talk. And then as they talked, when you get close to somebody, you start seeing them. And this kid had a lonely heart, a fearful heart. He was all alone. And this popular kid came along just because of a challenge which showed an eager heart. And he reached out to this kid and just showed him some love. And this is a popular kid reaching out to a kid that wasn't really known very much. And at the end of it, the kid looked at the wrestler and said, "Thank you, bro." And he said, "What'd I do?" He said, "Last night I was going to kill myself, and I decided to come to school one more day." Look at the impact. He saved a life. Why? Because he had an eager heart. And he loved a heart that was scared and worried and lonely and maybe was growing cold. Kids are having dark thoughts because their hearts are afraid and troubled. And we have the answer, and it's compassion. And so today, wherever your heart is, it can be where you want it to be, but you got to tackle and get in there and start digging around in that heart and let the great physician heal it. But then we be healers and hope dealers. And we can go out and we can mend broken hearts. And that's what we need in this crazy world we live in, is hope dealers that are healing broken hearts. And that keeps your heart very soft. Man, I appreciate y'all. This is day 38. 2 more days. We're going to hit that 40. But come on back. 9 a.m. tomorrow, 10 a.m. on Saturday. And I'm going to give y'all a chance on Saturday if you really want to, show some love and support a pretty cool work. If this has helped you, I'll give you a chance. 40 Days of Prayer, jump on the movement. Get it at kitcummings.com. A lot of people doing this thing, but love y'all. See you tomorrow. Man, have the heart of God and go out and heal some hearts. Peace out.